Quiet on the set. Here we go. Five, four, three, two, one. Hello, everybody. I'm Dear Myrtle, your friend in genealogy. Welcome to Mondays with Myrt, where we talk about anything and everything that's come across our genea-desks in the last week since last we met. And we've got all kinds of people showing up. Linda Stuffelbein, I'm sure it's pretty darn hot there in Tucson compared to Minnesota. I'm glad you're home again, Valerie. Good to see you there. Sherry, thank you so much for being on the YouTube side. Those of you that notice when she posts, there's that little crescent wrench next to her name. That means she's a YouTube moderator, and so she keeps the things rolling well, oiled over there. Yeah. Uh, Hillary, what's Hillary saying? They overlook an estuary near the coast. She's in Wales. She's also a moderator. And Frank from Hamburg, let's go ahead and talk with the panelists. I will introduce them to you. Next to me is the infamous and very prolific blogger, Randy Seaver. Hi, Randy. And then Hillary is in the top corner there on the right. Gwen, hi, Gwen. Glad you're feeling better. Good to see you. Maria is my timekeeper. She keeps me on my toes. You know, it takes about 12 people to help me now that we don't have our dear cousin Russ. But I'm sure he's. I wish he'd send me confirmation that our suspected parents of Dolly Yaki is actually. I mean, really. Anyway, there's Frank, our guy from Germany, and below Frank is Ursula Krause, my good friend, also from Germany. Bottom middle is Jill Morelli. We're going to find out about a class she's going to be teaching, an institute class. Remember, institutes are more intensive, instructor led educational opportunities. And last but not least is Ellen, and we are going to be playing Who's in My Line a little bit later today, one of Cousin Russ's inventions, to find out something more about one of her ancestors. All right. But before we do all of that, we have a special guest today. And let's switch everybody around. And his name is Richard Miller. And those of you who have heard me talk about Goldie May or Randy or any other bloggers, we're very excited to have you here today, Richard. And I'm going to share your screen and tell us, in a nutshell, Goldie May is pretty important to have. Let's say that. I mean, I'm saying that on your behalf, not because you're here, but because it's a really good tool for family historians. Talk to me.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you for letting me be here. Goldie May is genealogy research software. This came out of my working at 3 genealogy companies as a software developer and on the
Mhm.
business side. And I wasn't doing much genealogy of my own at the time. So as I started doing more of my own genealogy, I thought Goldie May is the tool I want to build for myself. So it's evolved over the last few years,
Yeah.
but it is not a tree and it's not a place for your photos per se. I want it to work alongside the family tree you're already using. So it's not going to replace any of the sites you're already using, but what it might replace is the papers on your desk and the stickies on your monitor and possibly some of the
Have
spreadsheets you're
you
using,
you've been
etc.
in my you've been here. You've seen my mess.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So cool. That's your landing page, and it's
Mhm.
really important that we always share instead of just talking about a website to actually dive in and find out about it and demo it so that people feel comfortable with it. And so here's your landing page. I'll
Yep.
give everyone the link. And tell me, I've invited you for this week and next week to share probably two or so attributes of Goldie May, your choice,
Yeah.
although one of them has to have something to do with DNA and privacy. And
Yeah.
what are we going to talk about today?
Well, today I wanted to talk about kind of just staying organized in your research. So you mentioned that you have probably sticky notes on your monitor. I certainly did, and occasionally still do. But
Yes.
as you're working on your research, I'm going to pull up an ancestor and family search, and I've already installed Goldie May as a browser extension in this browser. So you see this black G at the top right, and I'll
Yes.
click the G to open Goldie May. And so Goldie May opens off to the right side of your research,
Hmm.
and you sign in with a family search account. You do need a family search account, but you don't need to use a family search tree if you have your research elsewhere. But I wanted to talk today about the top two features. These both happen to be free features, projects and research log. So these are both in the theme of keeping you organized. I thought I
Hmm.
would just demo these to you, and I'm happy to take any questions as we go, if that sounds all right.
Okay. And I'm glad you made the distinction between the one big family tree and the wealth of digital image record sets and indexes and index digital images. Some people just won't even look at the record sets that are part of the collection at Family Search because they say,
Yeah.
oh, they're going to change my family tree. No, this is different. This is research. So take it away,
That's
Rick.
right. Yeah. Okay. So I've got an ancestor pulled up Leonard Wilson, and suppose I'm looking for his parents. I might come into Goldie May and choose a new project, and then I could say that I'm looking for the parents of Leonard Wilson. And so this is
Okay.
my objective for the project.
Hmm.
And there's a place for notes and tasks and research subjects. I could just put in the names of the research subjects here. And so I might want to put Leonard plus maybe his spouse. And I'm going to kind of build a little fan chart or fan club around him, which are the associates of his that I know about. But
Hmm.
alternatively, I can add a family search ID. So if I copy the ID into here and paste it, then it will add his picture and name. And then it has his kind of biographical information here at a glance. And
Hmm.
the point of this is that when I was researching, as I got into more research myself, I would start a search maybe in the family search records for him, and I would be browsing through these records and think, wait a second, what was his birth date again, and who's his spouse again? And it's funny
Hmm.
how maybe it's just me, but I found like I was just already forgetting these basics. But if I have these at a glance on the right side, then it's easy to look over and say, okay, I'm looking for someone born in 1830 in York County, Ontario, Canada. And so this would be that kind of easy glance.
Well, and
So
it's
it already kind of
logical.
replaced some paper I was using.
It's logical because if you know his birthplace in Sharon, York County, Ontario, it's really tiny. I'm zooming in.
Yeah, let me see if I can get
It's
this a little bigger.
likely that his parents were in that area at the time of birth and may have left some records. Is that what
That's
your
right.
thinking is?
That's right. Yeah, that's
Mm-hmm.
right.
Mm-hmm.
So then, additionally, these each of these place names is a link to resources about that place. So if I'm unfamiliar with Ontario research, I could click this and click Family Search Wiki, and this is going to open up the Family Search Wiki page for Ontario, Canada. And that'll take a moment to load. If you've used the wiki before, you know this is a great resource to find
Oh,
where
yeah.
are the records for Ontario, Canada. And so instead of going to the wiki and then typing Ontario, Canada, it's just one click to open up that link. And again, I chose Family Search, but that was sort of arbitrary. But there are other resources on other sites. So if I'm in, say, Canada, and I want to see what Ancestry Card Catalog has for Canada, then I'll click that link, and then I can be browsing the Canada records inside of Ancestry.
Wow. So,
And so
folks,
similar for
are you getting what he's talking about? These clickable links save you having to type in myheritage.com and getting over to their catalog or whatever it's called on whichever website to see what's available in the context of you want to look at Canadian records, not German records, not British records. This is phenomenal. In 3 seconds, he was on Family Search Wiki, he was on Ancestry, now he's on MyHeritage. Can you do it that fast on your own? I don't think you can. All right,
thank
back
you.
to you,
Yeah, that's
Rick.
a great way to say it. So yeah, those are the place links. And then let me show you this third tab, which is this is pulling from the family search tree because that's where my subject is from.
Mhm.
But in addition to birth and other places, these are all the residences he's lived in. And then on this second tab, this is all the census records in which he might appear. And so he
Mhm.
was born in Canada, died in the United States. So any of these every 10 years censuses would be possible sources for him. And
Mhm.
likewise, there are a few Canadian censuses that you might want to check for where he was. So the U.S. censuses are easy because they're every 10 years on that 0 year. But
Mhm.
I don't remember all the Canada censuses off the top of my head, and so this is an opportunity to say, okay, if he was in Canada at age, he's born in Canada, he might appear in this 1831 Lower Canada census, and I want to
Mm.
check that to make sure I found him. And similarly, these other ones, you
And
see
those
his.
are hints that appear because in your initial input of his data, you said that it was that place in Canada. This isn't a list you compiled. This is a list that Goldie May compiled for us, right?
That's right. It's automatic for having put in that
Wow.
ID.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that is the idea here. And then you can, of course, you could click these and open up a search. If I know that I'm looking for a 70-year-old in 1900, then I could click these links and open up the family search 1900 census with the search pre-filled with his name, Leonard Wilson, and the years. And then I know that I'm kind of looking for that person. It happens to be this one in Iowa, born in Canada. But I
Mm-hmm.
can quickly find him because I'm looking in a much smaller haystack for my needle. I'm not looking in all of Family Search. I'm looking in just that one collection. And
Absolutely.
similarly, you can do that for Ancestry. So you click here, and there's your Ancestry
I
person that
love
he'll
that
search for.
pop-up sub-menu for the census. Okay, we got a couple of comments, and I got
Good.
to get this in here. Fellow panelist here, Frank says, thank you very much for Goldie May. I use it almost every time I research in the US and Canada as I need the task list.
Oh, good. Okay. Good.
Question. So, and then here's just Jill does not normally speak in hyperbole, but she did this morning. Wow.
Oh, thank you. Okay. I'll take that seriously then. That wow.
And we have a question, which we need to get answered right away. And they can't find it on the list, but it was, oh yeah, here it is. Sherry says, can you move the Goldie May panel around or is it pinned to the right side?
That's right. You can move it around. So I have it kind of at 1/3 of my screen width here, but you can pull it wider if you need to.
Oh
And
my.
then you can go, bigger and smaller with the keyboard commands of your browser.
Yeah.
And if you have two monitors, you could push it over to your other second monitor and keep your main screen full screen.
Well, that was an important question, Sherry. Let's see. Okay, so somebody has a question about how does the entrance to an ancestry site work with sign-ins? You've already set that up?
Yeah, the sign in does need to be Family Search, but afterwards you can use any other site on the internet to do your research. And if you were doing an ancestry project, then I might come into projects. And I
Yeah.
don't yet have a way for you to automatically pull in all the data for an ancestry person, but you would come in here and just type in, I'm looking for Leonard Wilson. And then you would pull up Leonard Wilson on Ancestry. And I can show you more there on what we
Having
would do with
already logged
Ancestry,
in.
having already logged in with Family Search. Yeah,
Okay,
that's
so
right.
that answers it. And Maria says, boy, the panelists are jumping through their screens trying to tell you this would be very helpful with their research. Okay,
Oh,
I'll be
good.
quiet for a while and let's explore some more.
Okay, good. Well, let's say okay. I'm going to delete the second research subject that I typed in, and
Mm-hmm.
we'll keep the one at the top. Okay, suppose we're still looking for the parents of Leonard Wilson, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go back to my link to let's go to Ontario and Family Search catalog instead of the wiki. So the catalog's so good. It's the list of all their online resources at Family Search, plus all of the books in print, some of which are digitized and some are not and are available in Salt Lake City. But suppose we're looking through this, and if I could just find a vital record for Leonard Wilson, then I might see his parents named in that record. So I'm going to come into vital records,
Mm-hmm.
and we may or may not find something that's kind of a good fit for him. But let's suppose I look for birth records and uh, maybe these birth records here I want to examine. Now, one way to do it would be to just click the link, jump in, and go down that rabbit hole of looking for records.
Mm-hmm.
An alternative would be to add this to your task list and be a little more systematic about it. So I'm going to right click on this record and choose Goldie May and add task to the project. And so it will pop up here. It's got the title, the URL, and then I'm going to say, okay, what else would help me identify the parents of Leonard Wilson? Maybe it's this one. So I'm going to, again, do Goldie May, add task to project. And I could just comb through all the records on the Family Search catalog. I could jump over to the Ancestry catalog and say, okay, maybe there's a birth record that I'm just gonna pick one arbitrarily here. Maybe this birth record is gonna help me identify him, so I'm gonna click Add to Project List, and so I'm building up a task list that will help me answer my question before I jump into just searching one of them, and then this allows me to move systematically through the research and say, okay, let me start with this one. I'm gonna click the link. This comes directly to that. This collection happens to be a book that's in a Family Search Center. But when I have done my research on that collection, I can mark it done and then move on to the next one.
Mm-hmm.
And a nice thing about this is if the day's ended and it's time to go home from the library, or you're just home, just go to the dinner table from your home, then
Mm-hmm.
you can close Goldie May. And when you come back tomorrow and open up that project, you're going to find that task list right where you left off, and you're not going to have to remember where was I or what did I want to do next. I've got this list of tasks to
Mm-hmm.
go through and try to answer that question.
So, yes, this is something that people need to do. Can you add other things like here you are at Family Search?
Hmm.
Can you do it? Can you take what is at Ancestry and add it to this list and rearrange things on your task list?
Yeah, that's right. So this is an ancestry list, this third one or a link,
Yeah,
and you can reorder it. So I can push that to
good.
the top.
Yeah.
And then it does work with any site on the internet. So if I just come to Google and
Wow.
I say I'm looking for Ontario, Canada birth records, and it looks like this government website might be good, I could right click
Yeah.
on this, choose Goldie May, add task to project, and then that's going to pop that link in there for me to check at some point. And I can just
This is
scroll through and find other
mission
links that would help me.
critical here. Mission
Yeah.
critical to do the top level part of your literature review to find out what likely resources would indicate an answer, might have an answer to the question about who are the parents. And if what you were encountering were all, you know, indices created by Mary Smith or John Doe, and that's all you saw at first, but you don't want to lose it, even though you know it's not primary, the actual government or church record. You still want it over there on the list because you don't want to forget it. That may be all that's left. That may be all that's available, folks. Let me bring in a couple of questions here. Um, so Karen is saying, I love how you can pick up when you've left off. That was a good feature. That was really good programming. Um, and now that Jill has published her book about Hamilton County orphans, and by the way, my copy just arrived, Jill. She said she needed this program because she typed Hamilton County, Ohio, 1,500 times. I don't know.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And then here's a good question. Does it only work with a Chrome browser? What's the plan there?
Yeah, great question. It works with Chrome or a Chrome-based browser, so that would include Edge, and there are a few more called Brave, Vivaldi. There's a few. It also works with Firefox, and it does not yet work with Safari. So that's the other big request I get, and that may come in the future, but Safari support is not there yet. It does require being on a computer, whether that's a desktop or laptop. Your iPad, your phone, or your tablet doesn't quite do kind of multiple screens the same way, so it's not available on iPad or iPhone yet.
Mm.
But at the moment, you'll
Um,
need to use a
I'm
computer.
not looking at that kind of research on my iPhone. That would drive me. Oh my gosh.
I would find that hard too. Yeah,
Yeah.
I prefer the computer.
Yeah, but that's a good question. Okay, so back to your screen share.
Okay.
We'll pull it up and see what we've got here.
All right. So then,
Okay.
okay, and then so that's your project feature. So let me pull this a little wider. Your projects let you organize your research by family line, or if you are doing client work, then you can have your client projects in here. I have several dozen projects. You can change the way they're sorted, and the Goldie May browser extension installs in your local browser, but the data is stored in the cloud. It's encrypted in transit, so I'm trying to keep it secure. I don't sell your data. I don't. It's just for you. It's not shared with other people, but it's stored in the cloud so that you can access it from anywhere you go. So if I go into a family search center, some of them have the Goldie May Chrome extension installed in the computers, some don't. Or if I go to a library, you can install the Chrome extension usually in the library computer without a problem. It's not a full program that needs administrator access to install. It's like you're going to use it temporarily and then uninstall it. But if you install it at the library, that allows you to sign in with your Goldie May account and get all of your research there with you, and then
Oh,
work out at the library and then take it home with you. And you don't need to carry around a thumb drive or print things out or keep a notepad because it's all right there in Goldie May.
so prior to Goldie May, I would do that using like really primitive things like a Google Doc to keep track of where was I in my research, what was I thinking, what did I want to look at next. But you don't have this ability to go searching all over the place and right clicking and adding it to the task list. So this is at least I was doing cloud
That's
so
right.
that I could
Yeah.
find my research. You end up, you get a flat tire and you're in Iowa and you have nothing to do, so you're at the library doing stuff. And of course, I know where all the family history libraries are between here and Virginia. Yeah, you would this portability and accessibility is fantastic. We got some more questions, and these
Good.
are pertinent at this point. Who is Goldie May?
Goldie is my great grandmother. She was alive until I was a freshman in college, so I got to see her
Wow.
near the end of my life. And my dad, whose grandmother she was, had memories when he was in college of taking his laundry up to her house in Salt Lake City, and she would do his laundry for him. So kind of her. And then she didn't do my laundry, but I was a freshman in college and still able to go see her. So she's the great grandparent I knew the best. And May comes from my wife's side of the family. So we
That's
combined those to
that's
all
way
the
cool.
tree branch root names were taken. So we took
I
name
love
of our ancestors.
it. Okay, and then here's another question from Karen. Is there a max on projects?
No max on projects. So go to
Okay.
town. Yeah.
Okay, so let's go back, and you were going to show us a second thing. We're just enthralled, I can tell.
I appreciate that. Well, yeah, let me show you next the research log. So, as part of this project, looking for the parents of Leonard Wilson, I'm going to click on the research log, and it's empty right now. But let's go back into my Leonard Wilson profile here. And you may have used these links before on Family Search, which are to launch a search into other sites. And
Hmm.
so if I click Ancestry, it's going to open up Ancestry, pre-filling uh, the search for him. Let's see if we can get that to load. Refresh. Okay.
I'm having the same trouble with Facebook today. It just happens. Oh, we're
Oh,
in.
okay. Yeah, it just happens. So we're going to go through these records now. Suppose I want to start tracking what I'm doing. I can go into my research log and click log page. And this is going to copy over that URL and title into the research log. And then I can choose, there's some metadata options about my log. So I could say that I really like this thing I found, or alternatively, I dislike this. There's a place to write an abstract, and the citation is a pro feature. It's not free. It's the one thing that's not a free feature in this research log. And then
Hmm.
I have a place to leave comments as well. So this gets really powerful if you turn on automatic logging. So now if I just want to evaluate some of these records that I've seen in here, and so I'm going to right click and choose open in a new tab, or sorry, in a new tab. Let me do that, new tab. And you're going to see that on the right side, because I turned on automatic logging, within a couple of seconds, Goldie May logs that
That you
tab that I
were
opened.
there. That
Yeah,
you
so
were
title URL. So
um,
as you
excellent.
kind of go in and out of records on Ancestry, you're going to see this log accumulate all the pages you visit. And this will be kind of the easy way to track everywhere you've gone. It works because Goldie May is a browser extension running in your browser. So when the log is turned on, it can just accumulate all those links that you've found. So I might look into the various records about Leonard Wilson, and maybe I come to this, let's see if this will load, if this will go back. I come to this third record where we've got this person born in Canada who's now living in Iowa, and we'll let this load and we'll refresh. Okay, here we go. So you'll notice that the page logged again. So this is my 1900 federal census with Leonard Wilson. This is my guy because he's born in Canada. He's now living in Iowa. So I'm going to say I really like this page. I could put in here some details from this to make an abstract. I could leave comments. And I can also take a screenshot. So if I come into this image and we could see if we quickly or don't find this, our Wilson here. Let's see, he's going to be right there. So I'm going to just kind of slightly zoom in here. I can right click on the screen and choose take a screenshot. You're seeing that Goldie May icon again. And so you choose take a screenshot and then draw a box around your subject and his family. And that will drop that screenshot into the research log. So now it's over here. If I want to look at it from, if I now want to go over to the tree and type in information from the record, it's there in front of me. Or if I happen to be at the library and I've just taken a screenshot of a record at the library, well, now it's in my research log. And when I go home, I'm going to see that same screenshot at home, even though I'm no longer at the library. So that's a way to keep a log of what you're researching, write the abstracts, keep the screenshots, write the comments, and you can kind of really track your research with not as much copying and pasting as you might have done in the past, where you're copying and pasting every little thing into a spreadsheet or whatever. I'm trying to take away those clicks and that typing.
Having to go open another your Snagit software or whatever.
Yeah.
It's all there. Okay, I'm going to try to catch up with all these comments from people. Because let's see, Randy wants to know if you can add your own citations rather than Ancestry's.
Yeah, that's a good question, Randy. At the moment, I have this citation feature appears when you have the pro version of Goldie May, and it pre-populates with a citation. This is not exactly the Ancestry citation anymore. In the last few weeks, I've altered it to make it a little closer to Elizabeth Shown Mills' Evidence Explained. Her fourth edition of her book simplifies things a little bit. So this is kind of a basic version. It's maybe missing the household information here, but it's got the italicized ancestry and it's got your access date and it has the basics. So you could, if you have the pro version of Goldie May, you could take that one, or you could just delete it and say you're going to write your own. If you don't have the pro version of Goldie May, then you might just type whatever citation you want into the abstract field or into a comment field as an alternative.
Okay, I'm jumping ahead here, although I have some more operational questions, but I'm getting text messages on my phone plus messages and comments about the cost of Goldie May, and this is what we've got. So I've opened up your website. So in the free version, we can do quite a bit of these two. We can do what you've asked, what you've demonstrated. And we can create our own notes, Randy, in place of a citation, I would imagine. The snapshot part is part of the Goldie May Plus.
I call it screenshots. Yeah, it's free. The thing in Plus is a different thing, but screenshots are free. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Let me zoom in a little so it's easier to read. But anyway, let me give you guys this link. I'll send it out to everybody.
Let me say too that all the Goldie May features are available for free in every Family Search Center. So I'm sure there's one close-ish to you. And so you could go to familysearch.org/centers and look up, put in your city and find one near you and try it out there for free if you want to try the pro features.
That's a great idea. Although look at all the things you can do for free here.
Yeah, you could jump in today and try those free features at home and see if those are helpful to you.
Yeah. Karen really likes that snapshot. We've got to say snapshot. That's their term. Jill says, does it log in by page or by site?
It's logging by page. Yeah. So every new URL that you visit, it will log a new entry in the log.
So if she's browsing a record, would she get every page she looked at, like a record set? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Would you?
Yeah, you could. If you were browsing film on one of the sites and you have 200 pages to go, and maybe you would turn off logging for that because you wouldn't want the 200 entries in your log. But suppose you're going through the 200 pages and you get to page 190 where the W's are, and you're going to look for your Wilson, and you discover that he's not there in that film. Then maybe you want to log that one page where he should have been, and then do the thumbs down marker on that to say he should have been here, but he's not. And so I don't want to repeat my browsing through these 200 pages. So I'm going to mark where I didn't find him. So
that ability to turn that off, Jill, is that what you were thinking of?
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's a good feature for me right now. I'm looking at Danish records, and and you get like 35 pages for a census in some small parish. And I have to go through every one to look at. And I could then put, it seems to me, in your notes section that I really did look at all the other pages. It was a page by page browse, so that I'd have that record as well. But I wouldn't want to have 199 pages because my person is always on the last page.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to have 199 pages listed on my research log.
That's right.
Yeah. Excellent. Okay. Thank you, Jill. All right. So we got some more questions, and let me bring them up. Can you print out your research log or save it as a PDF for each ancestor?
I don't have a PDF option. If you were to choose print from your browser option, like it may come out. It's not guaranteed to. Your best option is probably to export the log. So down here you'll find an CSV option. This is what will open in a spreadsheet. Yeah. And if your spreadsheet doesn't work, then try this TSV option, which is tab separated. But you'll click this and then open it up in your. Let's see if I've got this here. Open. I think that should open up in my numbers program.
Okay.
And you could open in Google Sheets or Excel, but then you're going to see the title, URL, and then your various metadata here. So likes or visits, citations. And then here you could slice and dice to your heart's content and then print it or save it to a tree or something.
Okay, that's a good answer. Wow. All right, let's see what else have we got. Let's see. What about, does this also apply to family history affiliate locations as opposed to family history center?
It's not yet. I'm open to doing something like that, but it's sort of onesie twosie with every affiliate. Whereas with the Family Search Center is like I was able to talk to Family Search and say, can we get this in all the centers? And we did it as a blanket of all the centers. So I'm afraid it's not the same. Yeah.
Okay. It might be worth talking to Rich personally. I'm stepping on your toes here.
Oh, good.
I do know I have a few people that are very far away from a family history center, and their local library is an affiliate. So those would be the ones you'd be interested in. But folks, all we can do is the best we can do here. So
yeah. On that note, my email address is at the bottom of every page, richard@goldiemay.com. I'd be happy to talk about anything. So I enjoy emails and look forward to talking to you about any questions you have.
Wow. Well, I think you've wowed them, definitely.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
All
Appreciate
right.
that.
So I know that you've got that this is a very busy day for you. You've got to take a little somebody back to school shopping.
That's right.
So go have a fun rest of the day. I'll send extra Kleenex to you personally from Amazon because I
Yes.
know how when the little ones go off to school, they're fine. We're the ones that cry.
So
So
true. Yeah, so true. We're feeling that.
they're
Yeah.
growing up. All right. Thanks,
Thank
Richard.
you.
We'll see you next week,
See you
okay?
next week. Okay. Bye bye.
Okay, thank you. Bye bye. Wow, what an interesting day we've had so far. And we have a lot to talk about. What's next on the docket? I'm checking. Well, I thought I'd show you, first of all, what it is we do to keep track of our project and what we're planning to talk about. So let me share my screen. And you can pull panelists up, that's fine, because we're going to be playing a game very shortly. All right, I'm going to zoom in slightly. I used to use Trello, but they decided that they were going to start charging an exorbitant amount for me to have all my panelists have access. Let me try to do this here. Okay, so what I'm using is Google Sheets, and that way all of my panelists can log in. And I think I do have right now 3 of them, plus me, that are looking at this list, and they're going to help me remember things if I forget. But I during our green room this morning, these are things that I had aggregated from our private Facebook group where people suggested different topics, or our panelists did. So it isn't just old Myrt dreaming up all this stuff, but I do try to put them in some semblance of order. So that's what we use. Here are the ones from the previous weeks, etc. And um, yeah, so that's how we keep things organized. So when I say what's next on the docket, we really have a docket. Oh, wow. Richard's getting all kinds of accolades for his having been with us. Um, it was fun. Pretty amazing stuff, don't you think? All right, what are we doing next? We are going to play Cousin Russ's game, Who's in My Line? And everybody have their mic on? Ellen, we're playing with your ancestor, correct?
Yep. Yep,
All
it
right.
is.
All right. So let me explain to the to our attendees on the YouTube side. Yes. Oh, look at all these. Uh, yes, Jill Morelli. I could take my spreadsheet and to Chat GPT to put it in another form. You're right. Um, what I could do is take the voice summary, our voice to text transcript, and have Chat GPT change it into another form. But I digress. Geesh, okay. Back on task. I'm beginning to think I'm attention deficit disorder. I easily am swayed, aren't I, Ellen? Okay, so here's how Who's in My Line works. Yes, we love our cousin Russ, don't we, Valerie? He's a smart guy and figured out this fun way. What we're doing is we're going to try to guess an attribute or a characteristic or something about Ellen's ancestor. I'm trying not to give it away by indicating anything other than it's who's in her line. And Cousin Russ thought of this game because he said, quick click genealogists spend their time gathering names and dates of birth and death, and that's about it. And our ancestors had a lot more to them. Remember when we were working with Richard earlier, we were dealing a lot with the places where our ancestor lived and what records might have survived since then. And as we learn those things about our ancestors, we have a better understanding of who they were and how they dealt with history that was happening. We're experiencing history every day and don't think of it, it's just life. Well, we want to know about the life and times of our ancestors. So, what we're going to do, I'm going to get the panelists all showing up on the screen. And we'll turn this thing off. There we go. All right. All right. So I got all the panelists on the screen. And one by one, you'll get a chance. And we've got 20 questions, possible questions of no, before we have to give up and ask Ellen, who the heck was her ancestor? Let me pull up the comments part. There we go. And each panelist can ask as many questions as long as they keep getting a yes answer. And once they hit a no, it goes to the next person. So, Randy, what you may you may ask a question that is only a yes or no. That's all that Ellen can say. So, take it away, Randy.
Is this person male?
No.
Okay, there's one. And now we go to Maria. Maria, you get to ask a question of Ellen.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Let me think a second.
No pressure.
Yeah.
We can come back to you. We'll come back to you.
Yeah, go to the next person.
Okay, Gwen, do you have a question for Ellen? Trying to identify something about this non-male person.
Is this person over 50?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so now you get to ask another question.
Does this person live in the U.S.?
No.
Okay, there's our second no. Maria, jump in here. Raise your hand if you have a question. Okay, so we're moving to Hillary. Have you got a question to help identify the unusual thing about the non-U.S. based, non-male person in Ellen's tree? It's hard for me to say this. Cousin Russ was really quick at it.
Did this person live in Canada?
No.
Okay. So we're narrowing it down. There's only 200 other countries in the world. All right. Does the audience have any suggestions? Those of you on the YouTube side, type in a question, and that'll help the panelists, because obviously they've used 3 of their 20 questions. And they're learning a little bit. Okay. Frank, do you have a question to pose to Ellen? I think you're muted in line, dear.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is the person from the United Kingdom?
Yes.
Okay. So you got a yes, so you get to ask another question. But wait a minute, there's something from the audience that might help. Here's a question. It's a freebie, like phone a friend. It's call upon the audience. Was the person famous? Karen is asking.
No.
Okay, we got a no, but I'm not counting it against the 20. Okay. So we know the person is not married. And then here's another question from the audience. Okay. Was she married?
Yes.
Oh.
Okay, good. Thanks, audience, for helping to narrow things down. Frank, are you ready with another question? Because you got a yes.
Yes, there are coming in questions from the audience.
I know, but I'm making you come up with a question. All right, I'll bring it in. Valerie asks, was the person born between, wow, that's very specific, between 1910 and 1919?
No.
Okay. Frank?
So was it born? Was the person born pre 1900.
Yes.
Okay, great. Now you have to ask another question, Frank.
Poor Frank.
Giving yeses.
Pre 1800.
No.
Okay, that's a good thing. So you narrowed it down.
A whole 100 years.
Yeah. All right. Jill, you're next.
Does the issue have to do with her occupation?
Yes.
Wow, that was breakthrough.
Oh. Hmm.
Okay, that narrows it down to 5,000 things, doesn't it, Jill?
Okay, now I got to think of a cluster.
I
Did
know.
she run her own business?
No.
Okay, that's a no. So we have 5 no's now. Okay, so Maria, my friend Maria, the world's greatest neighbor, now that we're not neighbors anymore, she said, did this person have a non-traditional occupation?
Maybe.
Okay, so maybe Maria, you could also ask, is this, I think, non-traditional for female?
The fact that she had a job
Was
I guess.
amazing.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Or your typical job.
All right. We have another bit of help before Ursula. Was she a midwife?
No.
Yeah. That's a good thing. All right, but I'm not counting that no against you. Okay, Ursula, what question would you pose to Ella?
I'm just wondering, summarizing the information. So she is special. She's obviously diseased, born in the 2 centuries ago, in the 19th century. She had an occupation which was unusual.
I think it is.
I think it is.
But what makes what you're thinking of is not that her occupation was unusual. It's something else you're thinking of. Or is it the occupation that is so special?
It was the occupation.
It's
Yes.
the occupation.
We determined that, I think, from Jill.
Okay.
It's okay.
Is it an occupation that we even today would consider being typically male?
I'm not sure, actually.
Okay, so I'm going to take that as a no. Because I happen to know about that occupation. It's not traditionally male. But I shouldn't have intervened. Okay. So let's see what other questions. Okay, there's the midwife question. Was she in some type of entertainment? Karen is asking. Very good
No.
question.
No.
And then here's one. Maria, did she travel outside of the British Isles to do
Not
this?
that I'm aware of.
Okay. All right. Now, folks, do you see how smart Cousin Russ was? It's hard to come up with questions to figure out what do I know about my ancestor. She's more than just that. I mean, what is in that dash between the birth year and the death year on the tombstone? That's what he wanted us to focus on. Okay, so who are we up to? Ursula, did you get a no?
Yeah.
All right, so Maria, your turn.
Did she have any children?
Yes.
Okay, great. Now you have to come up with another great question.
Yeah.
Think about that occupation. We need to zero in on that.
Was she a photographer?
No.
That would be non-traditional for a woman in the 1800s.
Yeah.
Okay, we got a little bit of help from our friends in the. Okay, Karen is saying, did she work for a specific family?
No.
And did I do Justine's? Did she own her own business?
No.
We did that earlier.
Oh, we did that. Thank you. I can't remember. That's why I have you guys. Okay, so now we're up to starting with Randy again. Wait, you got another question from the audience, which will help. Was she a teacher? Janet's asking.
Nope.
No. All right, Randy.
Is the location important?
Maybe, but not really.
So, okay. Here's the question for Maria. Was she poor?
I think she was probably just status quo.
So
Like, I don't
was
think she was
status quo, you can only say yes or no.
No.
But was
No.
status quo poor for that neighborhood?
I don't know, actually. Good
So
thing to
that's
check
an
out.
interest.
So I'm going to say no.
Okay, that's an interesting thing when you learn about the demographics and the socioeconomic situation,
That's
because
something
we
I'll have to
live
check
in a
out.
very different situation in the 21st century. Was she a performer? Karen's asking.
No.
Okay, this one's going to be tricky. Was her occupation related to farming, or was it an agrarian society?
I'm going to say no, but maybe, sort of.
I agree with you on the no. But I understand maybe. Okay. Was she a laundress? That's
No.
okay. And these are things you're going to be asking about your ancestors. How did they get by? After the Civil War or the Boer War or whatever war, and you've got a widowed mother of several children, how did she make ends meet? How did she earn a living? Justine says, did she help build things?
No. Not that I'm aware.
Was she a psychic? That's good.
I don't know. We should ask her.
Yeah.
I'm not psychic either.
She could just come visit you again. We'll have a seance. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Where are we? Who's on the dock, or who's on the hot seat now?
I think I am.
Okay. Here's a little help from my neighbor Maria. Did she do blacksmithing? That would be very atypical for a woman.
No.
And this is an unusual occupation
Right.
that we're talking about,
No.
but it's not that.
No blacksmithing.
Okay. Now we're up to Gwen.
Was she a weaver?
No.
Okay. Okay, Maria did the blacksmithing. Deneen said, did she attend college?
No.
And that would have been an unusual thing in the 1800s for a woman.
Mhm.
Was she a mill worker?
No.
And I think I'm going to call make this the last question. Did it have something to do with animals?
No.
All right. Let's have which picture do you want me to show first?
The census clip.
Okay, I'm going to pull it up. A second. It's thinking
Hopefully
about
just
it.
because it's more readable.
Yeah, and why is it doing that? Later. Come on. Trying to pull it up. All right, let's do open with, since it's giving me a hard time. Oh, good heavens. All right. Open with, let's try Paint. Let's pull it up in Paint. There we go. All right, I'm going to share my screen in a momento here. Oh, golly, I love it. There we go. All right, I'll make this full screen. Who are we talking about?
We're talking about Gertrude Middlebrow, who is about halfway on the screen. And she was a tobacco leaf stripper. So the person who said, was she in entertainment? I was thinking, well, she was a stripper, but
Okay.
And if you only saw stripper, you'd worry. You had to see what industry we were in.
So she lived in Liverpool, and I didn't realize that there was a huge tobacco industry in Liverpool. And so a tobacco stripper was done by hand. You remove the stems from the tobacco leaves. And it could also be called stemming. And she worked at a place called Stanley Dock Tobacco Warehouse, which there is a photograph of.
Okay, let me pull that up. I'll get in a second. Keep talking.
Yeah, and what's interesting about that building is it's the largest brick building in the world, and it still stands today in Liverpool. It has 1.6 million square feet.
Wow.
And if you go to YouTube, you can search Stanley Dock's Tobacco Warehouse, and there are drone photos or drone movies about, so you can see it.
Yeah.
And I thought that was amazing. And I learned this all on my wiki challenge. And I forgot to write down the lady that brought it to my attention. But anyways, I found this hugely interesting. And in fact, my great grandmother was a tobacco packer. So she worked at the opposite end of the system. So Gertrude stripped the leaves, but my great grandmother, Evelyn, she actually packed the leaves in casks, and then they would be shipped to all over the world, I would imagine, from Liverpool.
Yeah. So it sounds like, when did she live? I mean, what was her birth and death?
Well, I only know her birth date. She was born in around 1880. And so I should have dug into her a little bit more. But she married someone named Thomas Holt. And they got married in 1902. And so they had 4 children. But I didn't realize that she worked in that industry until the WikiTree challenge. I knew my great grandmother worked it as a packer, but didn't realize that they were around the same age, even though that was her husband's, my great grandmother, that was her husband's aunt, but they were around the same age.
Fascinating.
Yeah, I thought it was such an interesting career because, for that time period, early 1900. Yeah.
So the reason I know about this, that this is a job, is that when I live in Manatee County, Florida, one of the reference librarians at Manatee Central Public Library, her census said stripper, not hers, but her ancestor just said stripper, and she had to figure out what the heck that meant.
Yeah.
But they literally, what they do, tobacco leaves are big leaves, and they have a strong stem and a vein that goes up, and you don't want that vein, that harder part that holds the tobacco leaf. You want the actual tender parts of the leaf. And so what the stripper does is pull out that vein and some of the larger veins that feed into it within the tobacco leaf. I don't recall how she finally discovered she wasn't a dancer by any means. This was an occupation. And that meant that her hands were stained. Some people were allergic to the raw tobacco. There were issues like that. And if you had a cut, it would hurt, different things like that. It was a hard job, but it was work that was available. Karen is saying that's a lot like cooking kale. Yes, exactly. Very good. Trying to relate the unknown to the known. And that's a way to describe it to your children or grandchildren when you're telling this story. That to show them, not that you're, I mean, I have never fed my kids or grandkids kale, but at least they know how heavy a kale leaf is, and it would be similar to that. So, what is her name again? Gertrude.
Gertrude Middleborough.
So, Gertrude Middleborough is who's in your line, and that is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Thank you for letting us learn a little bit about her.
Thank you for playing along.
It was fun. It really was. And this is the kind of questioning we have to think through when we want to find out more about an ancestor. This is why we read every page of the census for that county or that township, whatever, to find out, oh, she's in a neighborhood of other strippers, kind of a thing, or whatever. You get so you know what the usual and customary occupations were in that neighborhood, or I don't know, live next door to somebody that was,
Yeah,
adopted.
looking at that fan chart, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That fan club.
Yeah. Thank you, Karen, for getting what Cousin Russ was trying to get us to do, to think outside of the box. And I try to do this fun game every now and then. All right, so next on the docket is something that's related to this. Randy, what is an SOB genealogist?
I didn't know, but I guess that it was probably on Facebook because that's where everybody, is.
Whoops, I lost him. Sorry, I pressed the wrong button.
Okay.
Okay. You found it on Facebook. That's where, and then that's where I cut you off, and I didn't mean to.
It's okay. I found it on Facebook.
Mhm.
Miriam Robbins posted something on August 5th. And just saying, whenever I see posts of newbie genealogists anxious to get as far back on their family trees as possible, I always think of Leslie Collier's presentation and her comments about SOB genealogist. SOB stands for straight on back. Those genealogists in such a hurry to get as far back as you can on a family tree, missing important information that can help you figure out the next generation. So make sure you've got the correct person with the same name and learn about your ancestors as human beings with unique stories about their lives. So there's more, but that's the gist of it.
That's the gist of it. Thank you for finding that, because I'm trying to log into Facebook and it's not letting me. So from this server, you're on a different server than I am in California as far as Facebook is concerned. My server's down right now for Facebook. All right. So if straight on back, like the big deal is I've got people always ask me, how many years you've been doing genealogy and how far back are you? And then you hear other people who say they've got it back to Adam and Eve. Seriously.
Jesus.
So I want to talk to you about them, expanding on this to find out more about an ancestor. We want quality, not quantity. And sometimes things like the occupation can be something that runs in the family, like blacksmiths that Maria brought up earlier. All right, let me share this with you. Good friend Vet Hotink over there in the Netherlands. Well, let's get over here. Came up with this concept of the 6 levels of ancestral profiles. And I haven't talked about this for a long time, so I think it's good to bring it up. First of all, there's the ones where we don't know who the parents are. unidentified. The next level about understanding who an ancestor is you know their name only. You found a few records. They might have been, you might have retrieved the name maybe from the marriage record of their son or daughter, or their birth record, but you really don't know much more about them. And she says most of her brick wall ancestors were like this. Then there's the level of, okay, you've got the public vital records, the civil registration records, which in the Netherlands, after 1811 are church records of meaning farther back, would be baptisms, marriages, and burials. Okay, let me restate that. From here to 1811 in the Netherlands, they have public vital records of birth, marriage, and death. And before that, you'd turn to church records that would be the baptisms or christenings, marriages, and burials. And okay, so now we have an event in a person's life. And did you notice when we were playing Who's in My Line? It was important to know what century she lived in, I think. But that wasn't germane to the unusual thing, because there were a heck of a lot of people born in the 19th century. So the next level is to understand if there's an occupation or a place where the person lived, or you start figuring out the entire family group. Now that makes that ancestor, John Smith, unique because his wife's name was, I don't know, Maribeth, not Elizabeth. Maybe not. Yeah. And she has different checklists for sources that she would use. So let's look at the checklist for that third level. Open in a new tab. Let's come in. So for occupation, in the Netherlands, that's where her research is, she would look at these sorts of things. They have population registers. Doesn't that sound like a census record? Guild records. We don't really have guilds here in the United States, although it's kind of a, do we? You guys are all on mic if you wanted to chime in here, all my panelists. Not in the traditional sense like we think of in England and Wales.
We do have union records.
Okay, and are union records very readily available?
I have not found them to be so.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, I was looking on the West Coast here in the US, and there was a huge, violent strike in the Midwest, I believe in the 30s. And so the unions shut down their access on the West Coast to these records because of fear of the police and the government accessing them illegally.
To know who was in the union. Yeah.
So railroad records, for example, are very readable, accessible. And so it kind of depends on your occupation and location. And the group.
And they weren't guilds in England were a little different definition because they were, Hillary, jump in here. Because I know though you're in Wales, you have British records research experience, but they had, they were for a specific occupation.
Yeah, we had guilds for things, and you had to go through apprenticeships and things like that, and show that you could do something before you could become a member of the guild. I watched a webinar about guilds on Friday, and you need to actually, I think you could become a member of the guild if your father was a member of the guild, but
that was one of the criteria.
That was one of the ways of getting to be a guild member. But a lot of the time it was you had to show that you could do that particular occupation.
Yeah. Now, I can think of another kind of a membership record that I've used here in the U.S. The Grand Army of the Republic after the Civil War was like AMVETS. It was just they were very soldiers really drew together and joined the GAR. And it doesn't occur to me to look for people in the GAR records. They're usually in my case it was Iowa, and when I was at the gravesite of my ancestor who was in the let's see, Talbot Higgins was not. I don't remember what unit he was in, but he was a Union soldier. He was in Iowa, but he had a little GAR medallion that was planted. It has a little. They just stick it in the ground in front of the gravestone, and so that's what led me to look for GAR records. And it was just a little card. Wonder if I can pull it up. And it listed what unit he was in, his spouse, um, things along that line. Tax records, yeah. Oh, anyway, let's go back and finish the 6 levels just to see what they were. A next level 4, Yvette identifies as property ownership, military service, which is different from that organization, the Grand Army of the Republic. That wasn't an army that fought, it was an army of veterans. It was a veterans association. Religion, criminal activities, that'd be where my ancestry. Anyway, so that fills in more of the life experience of that particular ancestor. Then she brings in the genealogical proof standard.
Can you show your screen, Pat?
Oh, sheesh, I'm so sorry. Thank you.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, there was property ownership, military, that was level 4. The GPS, and so this one's important because reasonably exhaustive research had led her to prove who the parents were, and she felt like she'd gotten to know them, and she finished researching them in a broad or wide range of records, newspaper, town records, tax records. And she's documented them according to the genealogical standards that we have in place. Would somebody go to the BCG website and get a link to their book, please? And then let me know you have it. She's working on a very long line. She's only got one last generation to prove her descent from Eleanor of Aquitaine. And she has inferential evidence, but she wants direct evidence, meaning where it's directly stated in a document that she's descended from Eleanor. And she's even been to France to do on-site research in original documents with the wax seal and everything. Yeah. And then you can actually, level 6 is to do what Randy does, and that is write up a form of a biography or family story in the historical context about that particular ancestor. Yeah. Okay. Any comments from y'all? Kind of cool. Where are we? How's our time? Oh, we're getting there, aren't we?
So, dear Myrt, what I tried to do was to post that link onto the comment page on the YouTube channel, but I was unable to.
That's okay. It's
And
because
so
we
I
haven't
posted
had
it instead on our private channels.
Yeah,
Maybe
I
somebody else can make it
I
work.
found it. You just have to activate both sides. This side has not been activated. As far as you're accepting being a moderator on this side.
Oh, okay.
I've put a
Okay,
list
so
of the Yeah, sorry. I put a list of the guilds in the UK that was on Wiki that I found on Wikipedia. A link to that in there, so that if anybody's interested, what sort of things it's pretty
Okay.
much occupations, but there might be some things there that are not. I'm not sure.
Okay, so thanks to Jill for finding this link for me to the Board for Certification of Genealogists, who has codified their thoughts on genealogy standards for research, including combining DNA as part of the mix. Not mentioned, but it very well can and should be. Although Tom Jones recently did something on being able to successfully climb your family tree without DNA. Bottom line is there can be non-paternal events. You just never know. All right, let me get your other link here. Can you give it to me in the private chat too? Here. And
Are you talking to me?
No, I'm talking to. I want to pull up what Hillary suggested because it's a comment, but I also need it here so in the private chat, Hillary, so that I can pull it up. Randy, talk about your biographies.
Yeah, well, they're really rough drafts. They're really what my current thinking is, but writing it down helps me tremendously to sort out thoughts and to see where I'm missing things, or is it logical, things like that. So writing it down is really important. I think writing it down as you're researching
Mm-hmm.
important. So I use the notes in Roots Magic, but every program has notes.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, Ancestry doesn't let anybody see my notes, but maybe that's good.
I hear you.
But
That's
it
frustrating.
work. It takes some time to do all this. You
Yeah.
gather stuff for 30 some years, and it doesn't do any good sitting on paper in a file over here and 60 linear feet of paper.
Yeah. It's lost.
Yep.
But you are putting them up on Family Search.
Yeah. I've been
Okay.
adding them on Family Search. People can edit that, add to it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you. All right. Let me pull up the link that our gal in Wales gave us about the guilds in the UK. Weavers. Oh, and they're by place and then the type of a guild. Skinners and glovers, tanners, weavers, and bibliographic citations about that. And excellent. So thank you for sharing that. Jill, let's you and I have a talk.
Okay.
Okay, because we're running out of time. And Maria, we always run out of time. There's so much stuff to talk about.
There
Maria,
is.
we may not, I don't know, open up your blogger and get ready, Maria. We'll try. What we're talking about is what's coming up next week. There's going to be registration for Genealogy Institute. Learn by doing, which is completely different from lectures, isn't it, Jill?
Yes, yes. We're very focused on making sure that you're just not listening to a talking head and you're just sitting there and listening. So every instructor is coached in terms of making sure that the assignments that you're given weekly are doable and also teach you the skills and then apply them to your own genealogy.
Absolutely. So I love it. When I was first approached years ago to include little bit of information about this new institute. It's all virtual, isn't it?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And, in a way, we made good use of our time as genealogists with Zoom during COVID because we could keep learning. And very readily, the instructors adapted to that virtual environment. Let's see what we've got here.
It's
Yeah.
120.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, that's what I needed to know. So the registration is the 20th, 22 through 28,
It's
and
a rolling registration, so it's not like you have to have your finger on the button at that particular time.
mhm,
So we take a registration through that whole week. Then we
mhm.
will take all, if the class is oversold or over requested, then we do a lottery
Oh, for the ones left?
for the,
Oh
we
no,
do
it's
a
an
random
overflow.
draw.
Oh, okay.
And we select only 15. Each class has only got 15 individuals in it as students so that the instructor can make personal comments about the homework back to the student every week. That's another unique feature of Applied Genealogy Institute.
You know, we tried so hard to do that with SLIG, with the Advanced Evidence Analysis Practicum.
Right.
And as I did document fulfillment, and I would give feedback to the instructor because I could see what documents people were ordering, and you're more hands-on.
Yes,
Um, I
very
wasn't
much so.
I wasn't the instructor,
Yeah.
but when I would see trends, I would tell the instructor. But if you
Yeah,
have,
we're not talking about trends here. They actually get their assignment back, and the assignments are composed of two parts, usually. It's up to
yes,
the instructor. The
yes,
first part is what we call a scavenger hunt, which is where the student then has directed learning. They have a problem and they're to solve it, and everyone has the same problem. But then there's usually a second part that is their personal research, where they can work on and submit their personal research to us, and we will comment on that as well.
hmm
So it's nice to have small numbers in the class, and that also makes for very unique, even boutique type classes. So we have little chunks of what others are covering in a big way.
Here's something from Linda Stuffelbein who says
Mhm.
she took your class on advanced Swedish. It was terrific, and she loved the feedback in such a small class.
You can actually have discussions with 15, and I remember Linda's project very well.
Okay. So, what are the dates for the actual classes?
The classes vary, and that's another thing that's a little different, is that we allow the instructor within a 6-week period to set their own times and their
Mhm,
own dates so that they have flexibility. And so as a consequence, then they can, so you'd go to the website for that particular class and get the dates as well as the cost. Excuse me.
Okay. So, I'm
Dates
looking
and
right
times.
now at the course outline
Mm-hmm.
for Native American
Right,
that Linda Dewey's doing.
right.
And so here you get prerequisites,
Mhm.
create an account, and already bookmark these websites. The unusual one to me is heritage.canadiana.ca. I've never heard of that. That sounds cool.
Well,
Already,
Linda is 50% Choctaw. And
wow.
so, and that's not one of the 5 civilized tribes. And
No.
usually what happens is that the presentation is usually all about the Dawes rolls. And this is what makes Linda's class, I think, particularly interesting. She'll be looking at a variety of tribes across the entire United States, and not
Yeah.
just the 5 civilized tribes.
Yeah. Not just Cherokee by blood or something like
Right,
that.
right.
Okay. Now, you're involved, but you're not one of the course coordinators this time. Tell me
We
what.
try to give all the founders, there's 3 of us, Mary Roddy, Lisa Gorell, and myself, and we
Mhm,
try to give ourselves a break. We teach the courses twice a year, and so pretty much what we're hitting is about, there's a founder teaching in almost every semester,
mhm,
but not this one. We had so many good submissions this time, that we could take another break. So, but I'm already thinking about my next course.
I love it. Okay, so I've given you all the link. You may consider joining this. I really like the small class size because, you know, it isn't just what I learned from as a student with the interaction with you, the instructor. It's, you know, another student may tackle the same basic, the homework that was common to all of us in a different way, or they may have presented it in a table or an Excel worksheet or something, and I was doing narrative, and now I see the advantage of this over the other. But then to know what other people are thinking and doing, applying it in their particular research, maybe I haven't gotten to that point in my research, but believe me, it's going to go in the tickler file in the back of my brain. And I love it when it's a small group and you learn together like that.
Well, I just, if you're not even interested in these classes this time, of course, that's just fine. But you might just want to sign up for the mailing list. We don't inundate you with a lot of emails. We don't have enough staff for that. We don't do that.
Yeah.
And so we just recommend that you sign up for the mailing list, and then you'd get our announcements and our reminders.
Okay, so there's the mailing list link. It's right there. And yeah, that's wonderful. Well, I love spotlighting the great work that other people are doing. I like to be an introducer of one set of people to another set of people and make bridges and include people. And so thank you for bringing that to our attention.
Thank you.
Is there anything that I know that there are other topics we didn't get to. We have time to go look at this one family search thing. We wanted to talk about it last week. I'll pull it up, Randy. This is your baby. So let's have everyone else but Randy off the screen, please. And we're talking about a different way that artificial intelligence is being employed over at Family Search Full Text. Randy, can you hear me?
Yeah.
So it's the summarization feature. So talk to me a little bit. We've got about 2.5 minutes. We can go over a little.
Again, I didn't find this. Someone told me about it. That's okay.
Yes.
So in the full text search, it now has an AI summarization feature. So if you go to full text search, and someone can put that in the chat maybe,
Yes.
The link. And so there's now on the right side, when you see the full transcript, you see the image of the record, and then on the right side there's a full transcript. So they transcribe the handwriting, and then in the middle of that there's something called now summarize this document. And so it takes that's one page. It doesn't take the whole document if a document's across a couple of pages. And then it summarizes what it sees. So in my case, I had a deed from Trumbull County, Ohio, and it gave me a summarization. George W. Patrick and his wife Elizabeth, along with other individuals, are assigning their rights and title to a tract of land in Gustavus Township, Trumbull County, Ohio, to David Patridge. And then it gives dates, and then it gives lists of people, names and relationships if they're known. And so that's extremely helpful. Unfortunately, if you do have it across more than one page, then it will only do the page that it found the name on when you search. So, but it's helpful. Very good.
Excellent. Well, thank you for talking to us just even briefly about that. And yours was English. This was it. Where was this? Trumbull County.
Trumbull County, Ohio. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was English. The handwriting was fairly. I'm looking at your graphics that you included.
Yeah, they have trouble with more than one column. Sometimes
like this portion.
there. Yeah. but it picked out the names. So it was, it's an advance, and that's good.
This is an advance. Yeah, so it was taking handwriting to text. That's what the AI did, was it made a transcript for you. And it's pretty accurate because you'll see that, but it'll give you some ideas too, how this particular internalized AI works, as opposed to using something like Transcribus or Scribus, as people will say. Thank you, Hillary, for sharing the link. There are services that will do that, but you'd have to go out to that service with the image of this page. And in the case of this page, where you had columns in the middle, I would have cropped and shown the top part first and asked for a transcription. Then this middle part would be a second graphic to add to it and explain. Now we're moving to a different portion. Put this in your prompt where it's 2 columns. Please summarize that. And then the third thing would be the next part of that page. But incredible work. In this way, do you know how hard it was in the olden days, folks, to transcribe word for word? It was overwhelming, and it would turn people off. And they thought we were geniuses. Well, we are, but that we could read the double S and the other peculiarities of handwriting from the 18th and 17th century. Yeah.
But the real prize here is that it is now searching for names and places, and you can filter it and finding them. Okay, and that's key. I tend to put a plus and a first name and a plus and a last name and a plus and a county, and it goes and finds the 20 or 30 or 100 or 600 whatever entries that might have that. In millions of images, leads you to the image and then transcribes it.
Leads you to the image and then does a transcription for you.
Yep.
That is just phenomenal.
Probate records now too. They've added a lot of probate records, but not everyone. And of course, these are only from the microfilms on Family Search, and so they often cut off at 1900, 1920, times like that. So it isn't everything, but it's a big step forward.
It really is. We tend to think of probate records as a very valuable resource. There was somebody yesterday who made a post. They were trying to identify the parents of an individual, and it was a common surname in the area. And I recalled how Dr. Jones says he takes that time period when the person was born, and then he looks at probate files, not just wills, because there can be there could have been no will. And he looks for a total of 150 years, pivoting on that birth year of the child, to figure out who all the people by that surname are in that place, because then you get kind of the whole family picture of who all the Smiths are. And there's a different set of Smiths here. And sometimes, and Dr. Jones showed us an example where it was a great-grandfather's probate and relating to a great-grandson that helped solve a problem. And yet we tend to think of just the parents and the siblings as solving who are the,
This particular problem now has given me 1/32 of my entire ancestry. It identified a third great-grandmother that I didn't know a name of.
Wow.
Because her husband is named as one of the heirs, of Thomas Partridge.
That's
So,
amazing.
yeah.
Totally wonderful. I love it. Okay, well, Maria reminded me that our time is far spent, and I appreciate you, Maria Capaldi, for keeping me on our toes. Panelists, thank you so much for your input. I loved learning about Goldie May and what an impact it can have on our research. That tracking different record sets that we've looked at, putting it on that list automatically, except for all 150 pages, how to turn it off, taught us a lot of great things. So thanks to Richard. Thanks to everyone. And I thought it was fun that we got to play Who's in My Line and talk about looking at the whole picture and trying to decipher through the glass darkly who our ancestors were. And there's nothing left to say but I'm Dear Myrtle, your not so retired friend in genealogy. Happy family tree climbing, everybody. That's a wrap.